everybody, and welcome to Two Canadians Football Podcast. I'm your host, Matty P.
And I'm his sidekick, C-Money.
A.K.A. Chris Miller.
Yo, yo.
And today we are going to do our Dynasty Draft Recap.
Oh, yeah. Super excited that we did our Dynasty Draft this past weekend. And it went pretty well. I think everyone was really happy with their drafts for the most part, and really excited to get this going and see what this Dynasty fantasy football is all about.
That's the attitude you want to have entering your first Dynasty football league.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into it. We're skipping the news. Not too much to talk about there, so
yeah,
we're
in the abyss of the NFL offseason. So I'll go first, I guess, since I had first overall pick in this draft. And I went chalk. I went with Josh Allen. It was hard not to go with Josh Allen in a two-quarterback system. I wrestled back and forth with this, obviously, for quite a while. Put a lot of thought into it because this is for a long-term league, long-term plans. And I thought, for a few reasons, that Allen was the right pick because he's still young, going to be a quarterback for a long time. Makes a lot of sense, right? Quarterbacks put up the most points per week, generally speaking, of any player in fantasy. So to have two top quarterbacks or two higher-end quarterbacks is definitely helpful. I think that, you know, he has the combination of both running and passing. Good weapons there in Buffalo, and he should be there for a long time. So that was my reasoning for going with Josh Allen at pick number 1. How about we just go back and forth here? Who did you take at number 1?
Sure. So for everybody, I was picking in the 7th spot, my favorite number growing up. This is a 10-team startup, half-point PPR. So my strategy going into this pick is if the top 4 or 5 QBs were gone by the time it got to me, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, and Burrow, if those 4 were gone, I was going to probably take a running back, and that's what happened. So at 7, I ended up with Najee Harris.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty solid strategy too. I think this was handled well by pretty much everybody across the board here with the first round. I think everything was pretty standard in what you would expect for the most part in this type of format, in this type of draft.
Yes, at the 6th pick, Jonathan Taylor went before me there, so I thought about it. I pondered taking Kyler or Dak, but I ended up just grabbing the leader last year in touches. So
yeah, I knew that you had talked about wanting to get a top 5 quarterback, and there were 5 quarterbacks taken right off the hop. So I wasn't sure. I was very intrigued by what you were going to do at that pick when I was watching, and I kind of thought you were going to go Murray, but you shifted to Harris, and I guess I was a little bit surprised by that, but I wasn't completely shocked because I do understand the thought process.
So that was my the 7th overall pick there. After me, Kyler Murray and Dak went. Chase went at 10.
At the turn, we got Chase and Henry for
Derrick Henry in a startup at the turn, the 11th pick. So Buddy went Chase Henry. Interesting.
Yeah. You have to figure where he was sitting. He was thinking he had to go stud running back now because by the time it gets back to him again, probably not looking at many good running backs being left. So he goes Henry there. I mean, you got to wonder how much tread is left on the tires, but hey, you know, if he comes back next year and keeps going at the rate that he's typically been going these last couple of years, that's going to look like a great pick. So I don't know.
I wouldn't have taken Henry there, to be honest, guys. I may be keeping Henry in my 4-man keeper league, but that is a total different scenario. I will talk about that a little bit later. So after Henry goes Jefferson, CMC, and then back to me on the short come around. My round 2 pick, I took Mixon because I wanted to target a piece of that offense, and I think Mixon can replicate what he did last year when everybody slept on him. I can't remember what he finished as, the RB3 or something in full PPR. Can't remember, but he was a target hog, and I just think sky's the limit for this offense right now.
Yeah, Cincinnati should have a really good offense again this year. My only concern would be the old Super Bowl hangover, but I mean, this team is made up of young studs on offense, and there's no reason to really think that should happen. And even if it does a little bit this season, the following years are going to be good on that team. So definitely a good offense, a good team going forward for the next few years. So then after that, Javonte Williams went, Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook. I'm sure Robin was hoping to get Dalvin Cook at that point because he's a Vikings fan and just missed out. So the following pick, he took Stephon Diggs, getting the former Viking and knowing full well that I might have taken Diggs to get that Josh Allen Diggs stack for years. That could have been good, or maybe, who knows? You never know about injuries and stuff, but that would have been pretty sweet if I had gotten that. But he takes Diggs right the pick before me, probably laughed as he did it. And so at that point, most of the top running backs were gone. I knew if I didn't go running back here, I on the turn here that I was going to be looking at a long build for running backs. So the next pick, I went Kyle Pitts first to get my long-term solution at tight end that I am not going to change for probably the next 15 years. And then DeAndre Swift at running back from Detroit. So those were the 2 picks. I being a Vikings fan myself, I always struggle taking anyone from the NFC North, but if there's going to be a team from the NFC North that I would like to see succeed outside the Vikings, it would be Detroit. So it's a little more fun to take players you want to cheer for.
Yeah, I see that Kyle Pitts pick at your second round pick there, followed by Swift, and I can see you building a nice solid foundation. You got your star quarterback, you got your star tight end. I'm pretty sure he's only 21 right now.
Yeah. Yes,
DeAndre Swift just coming into his own now.
Yeah.
I believe he was like the RB9 last year before he got hurt. So
yeah, he's probably going to be a lot better this year too. I think he is finally, coming into his own. And then Detroit's offensive line is not bad. And then the weapons now that they have there that they've assembled look to be a lot better. I think Jared Goff, with some protection, and then the way he likes to play, he loves the checkdowns, he loves the short pass, and so that's where he likes to throw it to running backs, as well as they've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who kind of came out of nowhere last year and became a stud at the end of the year. So then they complement that by picking up DJ Shark, and in the draft they grabbed Jameson Williams, He probably would have been the top wide receiver had he not torn his ACL in the championship game for Alabama. So that's a pretty good-looking offense now. And I think DeAndre Swift I'm getting him at just the right time where he's going to start producing. So that's the hope anyway.
So immediately after DeAndre Swift, Mark Andrews went. Our buddy, our Vikings fan, saw a tight end go off the board, and he probably felt like he had to act suddenly.
Yeah, well, that's a solid pick. Andrews is another stud. Those are probably the 2 young studs at the position that we know for sure. There's some good value later, but these are the 2 known ones besides Kelsey. And Kelsey, as we all know, is starting to age a little bit. He's still going to be a stud for the next few years, but probably not another 5 or 10 years. Like his window is going to start closing soon, being 32 years old.
Mark Andrews was a beast last year.
He
still is on my Dynasty full PPR team, and he helped me win that ship last year. Dominant.
And he's like the only target for Baltimore.
Yeah, all those vacated we got vacated targets with Hollywood Brown leaving, right? So
Right. Yes, exactly.
you could say another big year is aligned for Mr. Andrews.
Definitely in store.
So with the 7th overall pick, my whole strategy was to grab 2 RBs, my heavy RB strategy. Grab 2 bell cows that I believe in. Trying to win now, trying to compete for the next few years. So I did that. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little confession of mine. I've been mocking probably since February. Yeah, since the Super Bowl. And I've been hoping that Davante Adams would fall to me in the 3rd round of a startup. And this is what happened. Davante Adams passed a Packers fan just a few picks before me.
Spite, non-pick.
I really thought all these months that he was going to grab Davante Adams.
That would make sense.
So my strategy, drafting at the 7 pick, heavy RB, 2 RBs, and then I got my wide receiver 1, Davante Adams, who helped me to win a dynasty last year. So it's we're just trying to handle some more business together.
Yeah, I mean, getting Davante there is a good pick. I mean, he's I guess of the receivers that were taken as I look before him, everyone is younger, right? That's kind of the theme there. Cooper Kupp is the oldest, I think, of the bunch, or is it Diggs? And then
Pretty sure Diggs is the youngest if we're comparing those 3.
Diggs is the youngest of those 3. Kupp next, and then Adams is the oldest. So that's maybe the thought process behind why these guys would have gone ahead. But Davante is still a really good receiver, and he's going to be for at least, I would say, the next 4 or 5 years.
I say 2.
Barring injury.
I say 2. Like this year, elite. Next year, elite. And that's all. Those are the expectations I have.
Okay, well, he should do that. I would say that he should do that. He's still really good. He was great last year, so.
But yeah, we do tend to see wide receivers fall off into their early 30s. So that's what I am pricing that in with this 3rd round pick as well.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, after that, Kelsey went. A.J. Brown, Stafford, Rodgers, Barkley, Hill, Wilson. Oh, yeah, so that's you again
so with this strategy, heavy RB, 2 bell cows, a wide receiver, and try to pick up the scraps and draft a quarterback that you believe in. And Russell Wilson still is on my dynasty roster that I won a championship last year. Aaron Rodgers did most of the work, though, for that ship for me. But I'm going back to the well, trusting my gut. He's in a better situation with Denver. The air is thinner. If Elway lets Russell cook, man, you're gonna be all those people that are drafting pieces of this offense could reap the benefits. So I took Russell Wilson over Hurts and over Trey Lance at my 4th round pick there.
Yeah. I was a little bit surprised to see that because I know you've been pretty high on, especially on Lance. But I mean, if you asked me point blank who I thought was going to have the best year of those 3, I would definitely go Wilson. I do hear the arguments for Hurts. I know in real life he's definitely not as good a quarterback as Russell Wilson, but the rushing upside is there for him, which helps. So that's the only one that I would have kind of back and forth on between those 2 guys. Lance, I think, is still a question mark. He could be a boom, but he could also bust. So there's more risk there. But I think Russell Wilson is definitely going to be a really good quarterback this season. And I was kind of hoping I could possibly get him as a second QB, but I wasn't holding out hope that he was going to make it back to me after the 3rd round there. So yeah, after that, so you chose Wilson, and then it went Hurts, Lance, Kamara, T. Higgins, Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then I came back with Waddle, so that was my top receiver pick. By this point, the receivers were starting to come off the board quite a bit. It was already getting deep into the running backs, so I was kind of looking at a second running back there, but I I didn't like the names a whole lot value-wise at that point. I was kind of looking at Montgomery, but there was Akers, Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs. Those were the types of names I was looking at. And I mean, I feel kind of similar about most of those guys. I didn't really have one guy that I was set on getting, so I let it ride. And at that point, I decided, screw it. I'm gonna take the gamble and grab Watson. So I did it. I gambled on Watson. I wasn't sure who was gonna do it, who was gonna bite. I actually thought someone was gonna take the shot before me. And when I got him in the 5th, I thought, well, this is probably the time to do it. So I took my shot.
Deshaun Watson. You are the holder of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I took the gamble. We'll see if it pays off. I'm not expecting him to play this year, which is why I ended up picking Cousins a little bit earlier than I wanted to, so that I at least have 2 serviceable quarterbacks for this season. But once Watson is back, if I do get him back this year, bonus, that'll be great, but I'm not expecting him to be back this season. So we'll see what happens.
And you got 4 quarterbacks on your roster, right?
Yeah, well, I picked up Brissett with my very last pick because I was going to try and get another quarterback, but they just all went off the board before I was willing to take any of the others. And by the time I got down to where I was trying to figure out who was left that were starting quarterbacks, they were all gone, and even a lot of the rookies were gone, and I was at the point where I was trying to fill my taxi squad, so I couldn't really gamble on any of them. And then I just remembered it kind of at the last second, oh, yeah, look at that. Brissett is still available, and I grabbed him with the last pick, so that's how that worked.
So you have Josh Allen and Kirk Cousins as your top 2 guys.
Right, for this year, yep.
I like that tandem.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins is basically just a safe pick, right? He's not gonna be a league winner, but he's solid, and he should be, consistent if nothing else. He should give me, somewhere around 15 to 20 points every week, and just that would be my expectation. I don't expect him to jump up and have a huge year where he blows everything out of the water, but I do expect him to be a quality starter.
I actually like that Kirk Cousins pick. I was hoping that maybe he would, maybe people would forget about him, but I forgot that there's a couple of Vikings fans in this league.
There's 3 Vikings fans in this draft, so it makes it really tough to get any of the Vikings at value.
So you have Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson when he comes back, and then Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, Jacoby, yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect anything from him. He's really just a bye-week filler until I know what's happening with Deshaun. He's going to be my first drop if Deshaun Watson is coming back before week 7.
All right, so after Deshaun Watson, DK Metcalf went, Cam Akers went, Matt Jones went, interesting, Dobbins, McLaurin, and really at the McLaurin pick, I thought he was going to snip the wide receiver I was targeting, because if I didn't target him now, I don't know if he would have been
gone. He would have been gone. There's those 3 in a row right there are all really good.
I took Michael Pittman with my 5th round pick.
Yeah, that was a solid pick. I had semi-hopes of getting him, and you obviously grabbed him. There were a few players I noticed over and over that kept drafting the guys that I wanted. You were one, Randy was another, and the guys in the middle, got a lot of stuff fall to them, and that's kind of the benefit of drafting in the middle. So, good choice though. You were saying you're targeting Pittman?
Yeah, targeting Pittman. I have 10 wide receivers on this squad, so to take Pittman as my WR2, it means a lot. I hope if Michael Pittman's hearing this, man, I believe in his season last year, over 1,000 yards, and now you got Matt Ryan coming over. I just think he's gonna another 1,000-yard season is in store, and I'll take that. That's what I'm looking at for a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's in for a big year this year, so that was a good choice.
I couldn't get Jonathan Taylor, so I think the next piece on that team would be Pittman.
Yep, good choice.
So after that, it's Jerry Jeudy, kind of early maybe, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Kenneth Walker, T. Lawrence, Tua, and then it came back to me, so a couple quarterbacks go off the board. So with my 6th round pick in a Dynasty startup, I go with Derek Carr. I wanted a lot of pieces of this division, and it just so ended up that 2 of them are quarterbacks. So I don't know. There's going to be a lot of throws thrown, a lot of yards passed around, hopefully a lot of offensive TDs, and that's what I'm predicting for this season. So Derek Carr is my 2nd QB in a Superflex Dynasty.
Right, yeah, and you were able to stack both or 2 of your quarterbacks with 2 top receivers for those 2 teams. So that's nice if those work out, of course, for sure. That's a nice little stack. But so after Carr there, you got, and Carr, I would say he's a lot like Kirk Cousins. I would expect both Carr and Cousins to have pretty similar years. They're just both solid veterans that, you can probably expect 4,000-ish yards from 4,000.
Well, Carr threw for 4,800 last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like, I would say, like, as a minimum expectation, though, 4,200 plus. This year, I would actually, you hope you're going to get more with Devontae and Waller and Renfro.
That's partially why I grabbed Carr, because I have his best friend.
Yeah.
They probably going to start eating breakfast together, just like Cup and Staff.
Yep. So, yeah, solid pick. Good, nice, even pick. You're. It's a safe pick, you would say. After that, Drake London, probably the top receiver from this year's draft class, goes. Antonio Gibson, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, who just got a bit of an upgrade on his status now that he's probably going to be seeing passes from Baker Mayfield. Then Josh Jacobs goes, and then I was sitting there, and I still need a second receiver. I still need a second running back. I had looked at Deontay Johnson already previously, but I thought it was still a little early. But now to get him at the point where he all the way came back to me again, I was really happy. And it's kind of the same deal with Montgomery. I wasn't really after him, but to have him drop to me 2 rounds later and he was still sitting there, I felt like the value had to be taken advantage of. So I get Montgomery as my second running back at the 7th round pick. So I thought that was really good value. Too good to pass up, even though I was looking at other receivers here because, Keenan Allen was still sitting there. That was probably the top one I was looking at. But Keenan Allen was still sitting there, so I definitely thought about it. And Zeke Elliott was also sitting there, but I have a feeling, I don't know, I think we may have seen the best of Zeke, and I thought Montgomery is younger, even though the Chicago offense is probably going to be horrible this year, and I'm not stoked to have any part of that offense. I do think Montgomery is probably the best piece to have from it, unless Fields somehow just blows up. I'm not expecting that, but it could because of the rushing upside that he has. But I think Montgomery is probably the best piece to have from that offense for this season anyway.
We will come back to that because I drafted Cole Kmet late. Very late. We're talking...
Yeah, where you picked him, that was good value.
14th round late.
Yeah.
And if my Dalton Schultz, that was my next pick in the 7th round. If he doesn't work out for Dallas, there's some contract issues right now. If he doesn't work, I'm going to need Cole Kmet to step up. But I feel like Cole Kmet could have a big year. He had no touchdowns last year, so he's 6'6". He's going to find the end zone this year.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
But I like your Deontay Johnson and David Montgomery picks.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson, again, I guess I could come back and speak a little more on him too.
169 targets last year.
Yeah, he's probably not going to see that many this year because Ben Roethlisberger I mean, Deontay Johnson must have been giving him cash or something because Ben just kept throwing it his way. But he is a very good player. He gets open. If the quarterback, whoever the quarterback is for Pittsburgh this year, tries to find the open guy and go for the easy play, it should be Deontay a lot of the time. And my hope is that if Pittsburgh doesn't pay him, that somebody with a good quarterback does next season, and I have him on a team with a really high quality quarterback next year if Pittsburgh doesn't pay him the cash that he's looking for. So that's the hope there.
So basically, my strategy for this draft was go heavy RB, grab a couple wide receivers, couple quarterbacks in the next 4 rounds, target Schultz in my 7th round. I really like Schultz there because Amari Cooper's gone, Gallup's hurt, a rookie's filling in, but they're going to need someone to soak up targets right away.
Yeah, I think Schultz is going to be that guy as well. He was my target if I missed on my early tight ends.
After Schultz, I wanted another running back, and I figured if I didn't grab James Cook here, I figured he'd be available to me on the next roundabout.
Yeah, that was probably a good guess. I definitely kind of had an eye on him as well. But yeah, it's hard to grade rookies when you're looking at them and throwing them into the mix with all these veterans. It does make it tricky doing your inaugural dynasty drafts because you don't know where these guys are going to end up. They could be absolute busts, and then you just wasted like a decent pick on a player that does nothing. But on the flip side, you could get somebody who's a Hall of Fame player at a super discounted price. So there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah, so I grabbed James Cook with my next pick, and then ultimately later, as it swings to you, you grab Kirk Cousins.
Yep, I needed the quarterback because I was sitting on Deshaun Watson
and
for
then
my second.
And then you grab your 3rd wide receiver. Tell them what you grabbed.
Yeah, so I grabbed Cortland Sutton here. I really wanted one of the 2 Denver wide receivers. I didn't have my heart set on one or the other in particular. I just wanted one of them. So I was comfortable sitting and waiting until one was off the board, and then I would try to get the other one when I could. And Jerry Jeudy went quite a bit earlier. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy went in the 5th round. And so I got Cortland Sutton here in the 9th. So I feel like that was a pretty good value because I think they're both going to be very good receivers this year. Russ has shown in the past he can feed 2 receivers. So I think that's the expectation again. And I think they're both really good targets. I don't necessarily think one is going to absolutely steal the show. So getting Sutton here, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that was. I have Sutton in my other sleeper dynasty, and I basically drafted him after his big breakout season there.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting to get paid, basically.
Right. Well, you're sitting on that this year. This should be the year that you get paid off on that pick.
So my one part of my strategy with the heavy RB off the hop is another little tidbit of this strategy is to draft my IDP guys late. And someone I was targeting was Bobby Okereke. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but
yeah, I'm not sure about that name either.
Linebacker for Indy. And the reason I brought that up is because right after your Sutton pick, TJ Watt goes off the board. So maybe a bit too early there for Robin in the 9th round, but he's in line to have a big season, and we'll see how he does fantasy-wise as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably your leading sack getter this upcoming season. Good chance, anyway. I did feel that was a little high to start going defense, but he does nab probably the number one or one of the number one targets for defense. So there you go. Then Edwards-Helaire, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then that's where Baker Mayfield.
And this is where I had to. The middle rounds is where I was going to get a lot of players I really liked, that I was really high on. So my next couple picks here are wide receivers, and it's another piece of the Buffalo offense. Gabriel Davis. I now have Gabriel Davis across 3 dynasties. He's my guy this year. I probably got to draft him on every team. Redraft, dynasty. I got him here in the dynasty startup in the 9th round, and he's going to far exceed the value that he's going to give me over the next few seasons.
Yeah, I could see that. I keep hearing that some people are down on him. I don't really know why, because I agree with you. I think if he's wide receiver 2 on that Buffalo offense, you're gonna get a lot of touches, a lot of touchdowns, because Diggs is gonna get some extra coverage, extra eyes on him when you get closer to the end zone, and that should open things up for Davis. So I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, so I got possible elite weapons on an elite offense, James Cook and Gabe Davis. I might have trouble starting, which one do I start? But that's a good problem to have in Dynasty.
Yeah, Cook, I think, is more of a futures pick, not as much for this year.
Says the guy that has Singletary on his team.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's Singletary. I've been down on Singletary in the past. I had high hopes for him before. But to me, it felt like he never really created or separated himself. Like he kind of stayed muddied in the midst of a crew with Zach Moss, and who else was there previously? There's somebody else too. There was a 3-man before. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Singletary never really elevated too much until the end of last season. He started to separate, and he kind of became the lead guy late last season. So that's what I'm banking on with him. When I picked him, I got him pretty late, I think.
12th round?
Yeah, 12th round. So there you go. I mean, I'm not betting on this guy to be my top back, but I do think that he is the top back on possibly the number 1 offense. So that was what I bet on. I did want James Cook if I was going to take Singletary, but you took him before I was willing to take him. And so then at this point in the draft, I started my strategy. Once some of the younger players were going off the board earlier than I was hoping to take them, when you're sitting on the turn, you don't get to react as quickly when trends start happening. So I kind of shifted gears, and I just went, okay, I'm just going to start going with as many quality vets as I could. So that's why I just started racking up some of the backup running backs, or like guys that potentially are number 1s, but have a young guy that's maybe trying to fight for time. So I just various situations. I grabbed Kareem Hunt, then DeAndre Hopkins, who I'm hoping will be my playoff savior, because he's going to be fresh coming in after 6 weeks without playing. So that's what I'm hoping with Hopkins. And then I went Singletary, Damian Harris, and Melvin Gordon, just trying to collect top running backs. Or I know Melvin Gordon is probably going to be in a timeshare with Javonte Williams, but last year Melvin Gordon really kind of held on to the job. He ended up outscoring Javonte Williams. And I'm hoping for the same outcome this year. Even though that's not a long-term pick, I'm hoping that for this season anyway, he can produce at a high level again. And Damian Harris, same thing. He's a stud. I'm hoping that he kind of takes over the number 1 spot with New England, because I know New England loves to run. But I also know that Belichick just loves mixing it up, switching guys in and out, and you never know who the top running back is going to be from week to week in New England, so it is a bit tricky. I was hoping to get another back or two from that backfield, because when the injuries strike, you can kind of know for sure, okay, this guy's going to have it this week. But Randy foiled my plans there by taking Stevenson.
So after my Gabe Davis pick, after my back-to-back Buffalo picks, I felt like it was time to make a move on 2 guys I'm really high on this year, and those 2 guys are Sky Moore and Jameson Williams, both rookies. One got signed by the Chiefs, and one was signed by Detroit. Jameson Williams, like Miller said earlier, probably would have been the first wide receiver off the board had he not hurt himself in the championship game. Do yourselves a favor this year if you're in a Dynasty startup. Go watch that Jameson Williams tape and rewind it and watch it again. And Goff can throw the ball. He's a capable quarterback despite what people think. So you may want to throw a dart or invest in Jameson Williams in Dynasty drafts this year, because as soon as he's available to play, his stock, even before he steps foot on the field, there's going to be a lot of hype around it, and that could even be a trade piece for you.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good down the line. I was a little choked when the Vikings traded out of that pick and traded it to a division rival, and they dropped to the bottom of the draft, the bottom of the first round, to let Detroit take Jameson Williams. But the more that I heard the Vikings' reasoning, the more I agreed with it. They knew that Detroit was trying to trade up, and they were not going to take Jameson Williams. And there was a strong possibility that they would have traded up with the team directly behind the Vikings with the next pick and got Jameson Williams there anyway. So the Vikings figured, well, hey, we're not going to take this guy, and we would like to collect the extra capital with draft capital instead of somebody else reaping the reward. So they make the trade. They drop down to the bottom of the first, and they get Lewis Cine, which I thought was a great pick. He's going to be a stud linebacker. I like him even, safety. I like him even more after I've heard some of the interviews and stuff. He is a smart dude. Calm, very intelligent, knows how to play. And they interviewed tons of that Georgia defense, possibly the best defense of all time for a college team. And they asked every player on that defense, if you could pick one teammate from your Georgia defense and bring him with you to the NFL, which guy would you choose? And the majority said Lewis Cine. And so that to me spoke volumes about his leadership ability, his ability to get guys lined up, read offenses, figure out what's going to happen, what's going on, get guys in place. And I think that him working with Harry the Hitman is going to be a nice combo back there.
So yeah, basically you grab a bunch of running backs. Tell them about your second tight end that you grabbed.
So second tight end, I wasn't going hard after a second tight end because I did take Kyle Pitts, but I did want to get somebody in case of injury. And I have a lot of faith in Irv Smith breaking out this season, finally. Everyone's been talking about Irv Smith breaking out for probably 2 years now. But 2 years ago, it was circumstance. I mean, he was behind Kyle Rudolph, obviously. Longtime vet. He's going to get the plays. Zimmer never liked to play rookies anyway. And so he just didn't really get a ton of opportunity because it just wasn't there. Then last year, they were talking about how good he looked in training camp, how he looked like he was going to be like a huge breakout, going to be a stud this year, and then he injures himself for the season in training camp, and we never got to see it. So this year, fingers crossed, knock on wood, he makes it through training camp and ends up on the starting roster. And I think with that, Thielen, Jefferson, this offense is set up. All the pieces are in place for a big year. I think with the new offense that Kevin O'Connell is bringing in, I think it's going to be a really good season for the Vikings offense. And I'm excited to see how Irv does.
So after my Jameson Williams pick, I took another rookie running back in Isaiah Spiller. I think the Chargers were surprised that Spiller fell to them. I watched his tape before he got drafted by the Chargers, and I've been watching this guy for a while. Apparently the RB3 in the rookie class going into it. And you look at how the Chargers utilize running backs in their system. Look at Eckler. He's thriving right now. Smaller guy. Fantasy stud last year and the year before. Prone to injury, though.
Yeah, a little bit smaller, so that'll happen.
Great guy. Love what he does. Love it. I love everything about him. But I felt like at this spot in the 11th round, I'm going to take my running back 4, and it was Isaiah Spiller.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a quick recap here because I think you're falling behind a little bit on me.
You are ahead of me, but I'm just going to go quickly through my picks anyway.
Yeah, go through a few of these here.
I got a couple QB to wide receiver stacks, and that being Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and I also got Matt Ryan to Michael Pittman. And then I got Brandon Ayuk. I got Cole Kmet that we talked about earlier. I grabbed my first IDP guy in the 15th round, Bobby Wagner. He was a stud last year. And he's with the Rams. So
yeah, playing for a new team this year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, with the Rams. So I wasn't actually planning on drafting him, but he was available there, and I felt like I could spend the 15th round on my first IDP guy because I still have a guy in mind the last round of the draft. After that, I went with two more rookie running backs because you never know what they'll turn into. But I also was trying to target Brian Robinson because his college tape is amazing. Go watch Brian Robinson's tape because he's 6'1" and he's 228 right now, and he's a pounding back. And Washington, I don't know if they want to invest too much money into Antonio Gibson, so I'm looking into the future here, and looking into the future here with Robinson. And also after Robinson, I grabbed Hassan Haskins, the Tennessee drafted rookie running back. Derrick Henry's getting old. Love what he does. Probably keeping him in my keeper league. But I don't see too many more seasons for Henry at this rate. He's got a cajillion touches the last 3-4 his whole career, just a cajillion touches.
Yeah, even his Alabama days, tons of touches.
He's a beast, though.
He's a stud.
His workout regimes look monstrous.
Yeah, they're fun. They look crazy.
So yeah, basically got an IDP guy in the 15th and a couple more rookie running backs. 4 rookie running backs so far. I do grab another later, but I'll pass on the next bunch of rounds to Chris Miller.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, you grabbed a couple of rookie runners. I was looking at Robinson in particular. I had my eye on as well for a later rookie runner, but I didn't get him. You got him. And so I came back with the rookie from San Francisco, Davis Price. I've had pieces of the San Francisco backfield multiple times over the last few years. They always produce. It's just plug and play. Injuries happen because of the style that they play, and Shanahan basically tells them one cut and run, and then they get smoked and they get hurt. And so I figure Davis Price will eventually factor into that San Francisco backfield someday. This is not a for today pick. This is a for next year or the year after. And so I thought that was a good value there. I needed to get some rookies, so finally got one. And then I took Rondale Moore with my next round. Good potential there. He was kind of buried on the wide receiving depth chart last year for Arizona, so we didn't really get to see what he could do too much. He got a couple chances and he flashed, and so I'm hopeful with this pick that he turns into a favorite for Kyler. If not this season, maybe next, but he's shown potential and I have hopes for him for the future. Then the next round after that, I grabbed another rookie. I grabbed David Bell for Cleveland. I'm hoping that he becomes a favorite target of Deshaun Watson's once he's back from suspension. I know they have Amari Cooper, but David Bell was a beast in college, and even though his measurables are not crazy, he's not super fast. I think he's one of those types that can find his way to getting open and has good hands and should catch a ton of balls. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for from him. Throw it back to you here. You got a stack of receivers here.
This is where I go on my 5 wide receiver run. Basically, guys, I had a list of guys that I want on my team, and they were just all available these next 5 rounds. So I'll lay it on you guys. another rookie, but a guy I'm very high on. Me and Miller actually have talked about in episode 2, I believe. Jalen Tolbert. He's stepping into a spot with vacated targets. Amari Cooper's gone.
Yeah, he's in a good spot for this year.
Gallup is hurt, might not start game 1. All these contractual issues with Dalton Schultz, who I also have on my team. So it was kind of a part of my strategy to grab a couple pieces of this offense. They put up the most points in the league last year. So I got Tolbert and Schultz. The second wide receiver I grab on this 5-receiver run is Russell Gage. Another guy, C-Money I've talked about. Got Russell Gage, 26 years old, in the 19th round. He could be Tom's best friend.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was hoping to get him too.
If Russell Gage, needs a place to stay, Tom might be that guy to, he did it for Antonio Brown. All I'm saying is Russell Gage, 19th round, if he's available, you should look into it.
Well, that's great. That's a great bargain in the 19th round. I would agree with that.
So the third wide receiver I take is Josh Palmer. He's not a rookie, but he's on an elite offense. And Keenan Allen is getting old. Mike Williams catches the ball and comes down and hits the ground hard. So I just think Josh Palmer is going to carve that wide receiver 3 role. But if there's an injury or the Chargers end up moving on from those guys, I think Joshua Palmer can excel in that spot that he's in. Wide receiver 4 I grab is KJ Osborne. You saw what he did last year. He put up some decent numbers. He's going to be on a more exciting offense this year with new coach. So I think a good dynasty selection this late in a dynasty startup. And I'll say the same thing for Van Jefferson as well. An elite offense that's been part of my target this dynasty draft. Grab a lot of pieces from the top 6 offenses, and Van Jefferson just fit into that mold. ODB's gone. Allen Robinson comes in, but Matthew Stafford knows how to huck the ball. So those are my 5 wide receivers that I grabbed late.
Yeah, and with those guys too, there's a lot of promise in if there's an injury to one of the top 2, right? Russell Gage comes into a spot where he's number 2 until Chris Godwin comes back, but the rest of those guys are all number 3 receivers on good offenses. So you're right. But, in case of injury, any one of those guys could become a solid number 2. So yeah, then after that, so for my next few picks here, I was just trying to gain, well, I guess I got different reasoning for each one of these guys. Marlon Mack, I took him late because he was just another guy that is probably going to be a top running back on his team for at least the start of the season. And who knows? He was a really good running back a couple of years ago for Indianapolis, but they just had numbers. They had too many good backs there. And now Jonathan Taylor is obviously the man. Indy didn't really have the money to sign him, and, he obviously wants more carries, so he goes to a team where he should get that, and it's interesting to see what happens with him because he could finally be in a spot where he gets to flourish and be the main guy. So that's like a late round dart, just whatever. Give him a shot. If he gives way to Pierce in the backfield, the rookie running back, I don't have a problem dropping Mack and trying to pick up another piece from the waiver wire. Jamal Williams for Detroit, I took him because I just wanted the handcuff for DeAndre Swift. That's really the only reasoning I have. I just feel like, if Swift gets hurt, I just think that he'll be a decent fill-in, kind of along the lines of Alexander Madison if Dalvin Cook gets hurt, right? You got to have somebody to handcuff your stud running back, especially in this format. Then the next one I grabbed Jamison Crowder. I just, again, wide receiver 3 from a really good offense. I've already got Josh Allen. If there's an injury to Diggs, which has happened in the past, or if there's an injury to Gabriel Davis, Crowder could become a target hog the way he has at moments in the past with other teams. It's really more of an injury thing than anything. I don't expect him to be one of the top 2 there, but you never know. He has done well in spots in the past with far lesser quarterbacks. Yeah, and then I'll throw it back to you before I wrap it up, I guess.
So with my last 2 picks, I grab another rookie running back, Jerome Ford. I have him currently in my other sleeper dynasty. I also have Chubb there. So I've known about this guy. He's a rookie coming in. Check out his college tape. He's a bruising, just straight line, run you over type of back. And I thought he was worth owning. So my late dart flyer on Jerome Ford. And then I got the linebacker I was kind of trying to target, Darius Leonard, arguably one of the top 3 linebackers for fantasy and in the league, was kind of injured. He's kind of injured entering this season. So his line mate, so to speak, Bobby, I was targeting him. He was a rookie last year, and there's a lot of upside. So he was my last round pick there. So I got Bobby Wagner and Bobby from Indy as my IDP guys. We only starting 1 in this league, so I wanted a backup IDP guy.
Yeah, and so with that, my final picks, I at this point in the draft, you're basically throwing darts because you don't really have much expectation for any of these guys. I drafted Williams, the running back for the Rams, rookie running back. I didn't really want him, but at this point in the draft, I needed to fill out my rookie taxi squad. So he was the top rated rookie that was left on the board. So I grabbed him. I have since already dropped him and added Batty from Baltimore, the rookie for Baltimore, just because I think there's more of a chance he gets in there because of the injury status with Gus Edwards and Dobbins. I think the way Baltimore just is going to run. I think Batty has a chance to play sooner than later. And then the last pick, just to cover my behind for the Deshaun Watson pick, I took Jacoby Brissett to fill out the roster. But maybe we can give a recap then of our teams, top to bottom.
Yeah, so I'll start going, the heavy RB strategy at the 7th pick. I missed out on the 4 QBs that I was willing to take at the 7th pick. So I got Harris, Mixon, Adams, Wilson, Pittman, Derek Carr is my 2nd QB, Dalton Schultz, my first tight end, James Cook, one of my 5 rookie running backs, Gabe Davis, Jameson Williams, Isaiah Spiller, Matt Ryan, my 3rd QB. Part of my strategy was to not go young QB, just go 3 veteran QBs, all in good situations. Brandon Ayuk after that, Cole Kmet, Bobby Wagner, couple more rookie running backs, Robinson and Hassan Haskins. And then I went on my 5 wide receiver run, Tolbert, Gage, Joshua Palmer, KJ Osborne, Van Jefferson. And then my last 2 picks were Jerome Ford, the rookie running back for Cleveland, and Bobby O. We'll just call him Bobby O for Indy.
Yeah, solid draft. I give you an A. A-, somewhere in there.
Fucking A.
For me, with the number 1 pick, obviously getting the top player that I chose, I went with Chalk. I went Josh Allen. Then came back with Kyle Pitts. I hope to have the top tight end for the foreseeable future for a long time. DeAndre Swift coming back again, young stud running back. So I have, a nice floor or a combo of tight end, quarterback, running back, all young, and then Waddle. So they're all young players with high upside. So I think I feel really confident with those picks. Deshaun Watson, my risky 2nd quarterback, who should pay dividends, if not this year, next season. Deontay Johnson for 2nd wide receiver. Montgomery for Chicago, running back 2. Kirk Cousins to hold the fort until I get Deshaun Watson. Cortland Sutton as my 3rd wide receiver. And I'm looking for a big year from him. Kareem Hunt he's a stud, and if anything happens to Chubb, he should be really good. But he has a role regardless, even if they start using Dearness Johnson instead of Chubb. Kareem Hunt gets a lot of the 2-minute offense, a lot of passing down stuff, and he's a total stud. And if he did get traded because they want to recoup some of those picks that they gave up for Deshaun Watson, he may end up on a really good offense somewhere else and be the main guy. So I think there's a lot of upside with Kareem Hunt. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm hoping to have him as my wide receiver savior in the playoff push. And then I go on a 3 running back run here of guys that I was targeting as hopeful studs for their teams. Devin Singletary, Damian Harris, and Melvin Gordon. Then I come back with my backup tight end, Irv Smith, hoping for a breakout year from him. And then I start going with backup guys that I have high hopes for. So we're talking Davis Price from San Francisco, Rondale Moore from Arizona, Bell from Cleveland, rookie. And then I came back again, Marlon Mack as another hopeful for kind of a breakout from a veteran this season as being the main guy in Houston. Jamal Williams, my handcuff for DeAndre Swift. Jamison Crowder, injury insurance for either Diggs or Gabriel Davis. Hopefully, if one of them happens to get hurt, I can reap the benefits of that. And then I come back with I treated the individual defensive player as kind of like a kicker pick because I figured there's so many good defenders in the league and we're only playing one that I can probably scoop somebody off the waiver wire if I have to. But at this moment, I thought I needed to grab a rookie. So just to fill out my taxi squad and roster. So I grabbed Devin Lloyd, rookie linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do think that he might be the best running back in this class, and if that's the case, he could be a stud that I hold on to and use as my defensive player for the next 10 years. We'll see. I'm not counting on that, but you never know. And then last one, my Deshaun Watson insurance. Jacoby Brissett was my last pick.
Yes. All in all, a very fun draft, and I do like your team, and coincidentally, we play week 1.
Yeah, we get to find out how good we are week 1. I think your team is favored right now, especially without Deshaun. I was looking at the prognostication for Deshaun Watson, and for some reason, even though he's not supposed to play, he's supposed to get negative points. I don't know if that's just like for fun or what, but I don't know. I thought that was funny.
I saw that minus 1.35 or something.
Yeah, something minus 1 point something. It's like, how do you get that if you're not even playing?
I could make a nice joke here, but we'll keep it PG.
Yeah, let's keep it clean.
So that was our draft, and we had a lot of fun. If you guys have any questions about that or want to, ask us for advice, oh no.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind hearing some comments from some of the league mates about comments or questions or things they'd like to point out, maybe in their strategy or anything like that. There's a few guys that I thought had really good drafts. I do like a few of the teams. In particular, I think Gambler 67, or what was his name? Gambler 67 has a good draft. I thought Top Gun Pancake had a really good draft, and I thought that Cash Wolf and Viking Randy also had good drafts. So those are my top teams to look out for. But I mean, realistically, I think everybody had a pretty solid draft, and it's going to be a competitive league.
So on to our next segment. Bold sports prediction.
Bold.
And I believe you're ready to give your bold sports prediction, right, Chris?
We were talking in a group chat today, and I think that next season, this is my bold prediction, I think that next year, not this upcoming season, the Dallas Cowboys will hire Sean Payton to be the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and he will bring along Mike Zimmer as his defensive coordinator. The two quote-unquote best friends who were on the Dallas staff way back in the day together have been head coaches for quite a while, and now they both find themselves out of the league this year. I think they both take a year to collect themselves, just kick back, probably relieve some stress that comes with being a head coach of a NFL football team, and they'll get the itch. I'm sure they'll be watching NFL football all year, hardcore, just like they always do, because they won't be able to help themselves. And next season, I think Dallas potentially underwhelms this year, and the Dallas Cowboys decide to go in a different direction at head coach, and that is the call that they go. Sean Payton and Mike Zimmer.
That's pretty bold, but I could see the scenario playing out. I could see Dallas maybe struggling to win the division. I don't know that no one's. When we're talking about the NFC East, no one's won back-to-back division titles there since 2004. That's what I was reading today, and
yeah, I mean. And that division, though improved, I don't think it's a very good division. It should be better overall this year than it was last year. So Dallas will have a little stiffer competition to deal with. But I don't know. Philadelphia is getting a ton of hype right now, and kind of rightfully so. I can see it. I can understand why, but Philly really hasn't proven anything either. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think the Giants are improved quite a bit. I still don't know that they're going to be great, but I think they will be better this year. And then Washington, I think the Dan Snyder thing, I don't know. There's a lot hanging over that that team's head, and I don't think that they're going to be that great this upcoming season. But you
can make a case for Dallas maybe not winning that division or faltering a bit, and then McCarthy getting fired.
Yeah, I expect that they should be a good team, but they may not live up to expectations, and that may be enough for them to let McCarthy go, because I think that there's a bit of a undercurrent there with the fan base that want to see McCarthy gone. And, that whole playoff thing last year when Dak ran up the middle and they had no timeouts left, and then they ran out of time because they couldn't spike the ball. That was poor coaching decision. I mean, that's one spot decision. I know, I get it. But it's just, it goes along with an already sort of negative undercurrent that exists there. And if they don't meet expectations this season, I think we could see a change.
Are you saying Zimmer and Peyton are friends?
Yeah, they are. They coached together on the Dallas Super Bowl teams back in the day. Zimmer was Deion Sanders' secondary coach, and Peyton was on the offensive side. I don't even know what role he had. I don't think it was a very high-ranking one. I think it was he might have been the water boy. I don't know. I know he wasn't. I know he didn't have a high role. So they were young cats living the life in Dallas together, and they won a Super Bowl. Those are the glory days of Dallas, and I could totally see them after now years of success, NFL success, much older, getting together and working together.
Jerry.
All right, so what do you got?
For my bold prediction, I am shooting for the stars with this one. And I've been getting real close with futures bets lately and big-time bets. So this one, it's an NFL futures. It's to win the divisions. And my $100 ticket will pay. My $100 ticket will pay $92,665. Can you make some noise for that?
Ow! Ow!
So I'm picking all the division winners, and yes, there are some upsets in here, you could say. It's an 8-team parlay to win each division. I got Buffalo Bills repeating. I got Cincinnati Bengals repeating. I got the Colts winning the division this year. Tennessee won it last year. I got the Chargers beating out the Chiefs to win the division. I think the Chargers are ready to take that next step. I got the Eagles. Speaking of Dallas and that whole division there, I got the Eagles taking the division this year.
Okay.
I got the Rams winning that division and having a successful season. Tampa Bay, Tom, he could either boom or bust. I know some people may think he's just destined for greatness all the time, but
It's hard.
I'm sure he's one hit away from, going down. And then who do they turn to at quarterback, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. He's been solid for a long time. He knows how to avoid hits.
And for the last one, the biggest upset, I got the Vikings winning that division.
And I love that pick. I think that's a very intelligent pick on your behalf.
That's what makes this ticket, because it's almost paying 4. Green Bay's heavily favored at $1.55, but I'm getting Minnesota at $3.75.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot closer than a lot of people are willing to give it credit for. Green Bay does not have the either the offensive line that it used to, or the wide receivers obviously taking a huge step back. So that offense won't be as good. The defense will be very good this year. I think they have probably one of the better defenses in the league this upcoming season. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the Vikings are a lot closer than a lot of people want to give them credit for, and that's a good, big spot bet.
Chris Miller's a big Vikings fan, and we both agree on a few things this year, and that Zimmer going out and having some new blood coaching, that this offense could be very explosive out the gate.
Yeah, I think there's multiple reasons for that. New offensive scheme, throw first mentality, over run, pass, very predictable, the way Zimmer always tried to run it old school. When you have receivers like Jefferson and Thielen is still a quality player, but he's probably hitting the end of his career, being as effective as he is. So this is the time. KJ Osborne is kind of up and coming. Irv Smith should be back and should be producing. And I think that those guys are ready to step up. The offensive tackles, left tackle was a rookie last year, and he didn't play for the first 6 games. But after he came in the offense actually got better with him playing at the left tackle spot. And it seemed obvious to anyone who paid very close attention. It was noticeable how much less pressure Kirk Cousins saw later in the season. And they still had to get stronger up the middle, but they went and grabbed 2 right guards in free agency. Not like studs, but at least NFL average quality players. They weren't trying to break the bank for a top free agent, but just improvement from the interior, and they should have got that. Ezra Cleveland, the left guard, is now entering his 3rd season. He wasn't even drafted to be a guard, but he kind of got thrust into the left guard position as a rookie, and he held up. And then this past season, he got stronger and stronger in the role as the season progressed. And then it just comes down to your center, the undersized Garrett Bradbury. He was drafted as a 1st-round pick, and he's a very intelligent player. He's great on the run and out on the move when you get him out in space and blocking, but he's not good at anchoring and holding the fort, which is the worst part of his game against massive defensive tackles when they bull rush up the middle, and that's right in Kirk Cousins' lap. So that's the one place that they need improvement from. And if that happens, the rest of the line is solid. I think Kirk will have the time that he needs to make it happen. And if he has the time, he's a deadly quarterback. So the defense will be much improved because the secondary, you got Lewis Seen, 1st-round pick, coming in to replace last year's safety who they let walk. Then you got cornerback Booth Jr. from Clemson. He probably would have been a higher peck. He's a very good player, but he's kind of had trouble staying on the field. So there were injury concerns with him, which is why he fell to the 2nd round. Patrick Peterson's back. Harry the Hitman's back. And then you bring in Hicks from Arizona to serve as your middle linebacker beside Eric Kendricks. Two stud middle linebackers to fill out your 3-4 depth chart. And then on the ends, you got Zadarius Smith, huge pickup, stealing him from a division rival, Green Bay Packers, and Danielle Hunter. So that's 2 stud pass rushers to go out there and absolutely destroy offenses.
Yeah, and guess who Green Bay plays week 1?
Week 1, the Vikings are going to show it. They're going to bring it. It's in Minnesota too, so I think it's going to be kind of like 2 seasons ago when it was the COVID season and there were no fans in the stands and the Vikings had to draft all new defensive secondary players because they let Xavier Rhodes go, they let Trey Waynes go, and they let their third cornerback go to Cincy. So they basically, Mackenzie Alexander, they had to fill out the whole secondary, and they drafted a bunch of first round pick they spent on cornerback, third round pick they spent on cornerback. They're going all young except for Harrison Smith. And the first game out of the gates, Green Bay versus Minnesota, you knew that Aaron Rodgers was going to feast in that game with no fans to help make it so that he couldn't make changes at the line, etc. And of course, what happened? Aaron Rodgers absolutely destroyed them, setting records basically along the way. Huge first game, and then they got a lot of confidence from that game. The Vikings rookies, I think, felt like they probably lost some confidence that game, and the season just wore on from there. I think this year is going to kind of be the same thing, but in the opposite direction. I think that Green Bay is going to come in and get the shock of playing in the Vikings home stadium.
Yeah, I mean, you see big things for Minnesota this year. I was kind of a little bit of a hater last season. I got some of their studs on my rosters and stuff, but I don't know, just didn't start the season right. I see better things for Minnesota this year. Devontae Adams is gone out of the division. That's always good. And this is a huge year for Kirk Cousins, and I know he's capable of putting up top quarterback numbers.
Yeah, that division should be between Green Bay and Minnesota. I do see Detroit as a bit of a dark horse because I think they've started to put the pieces together, but I don't think they're going to be quite there yet this upcoming season. So, and I just think Chicago is totally out of it for this year.
So are you a buyer of my big fresh ticket?
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for all of those teams. I mean, it's a hard prediction. An 8-team parlay is a big bet. I've never done anything that big and, expected to win, but I like it. It's a huge payday, which would be super fun. So let's go.
Yeah, and we won't really know unless a team is mega out of it. We won't really know till January.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would call this one bold, but I'm just I got a feeling, just going with the gut.
Extremely bold.
Bold. So yeah, that is it for today's episode, guys. If you have any questions about the Dynasty draft that we just had, hit us up. Hit just hit us up. Hit C-Money. Hit Matty P.
Until next time.
Peace. Later, guys.